Happy Friday, Collective. It is February the 4th, and this one might be as much of a surprise to me as it is to anyone who sees it. I thought I was going into just the astrological signs, and unfortunately what I'm being guided to do is, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, unfortunately for I'm going to be on schedule. I'm being guided to do a twin flame collective reading, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm also being guided that sometime this weekend I'm going to try to go live, which I know my angels really want that right now, but it isn't possible on a mobile phone setup, so I have to do a little bit of prep work for it, I think, in terms of my space, which thank heavens they do understand about that stuff now. So I guess having said that, I will get right into it. No, that was not a sign, that was just me being clumsy. I'm going to go ahead and say a prayer for everyone else's benefit. If you've already said your own prayer, or you're not comfortable with this prayer, do use some form of protection, please. And go ahead and skip this one if you don't like it. That still the strongest one I've ever had experience with. I did say one earlier when I started, just to make sure that I was hearing, correctly, and this is what I was supposed to do. So, having said that, let me get started. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the power, and the kingdom, and the glory, forever and ever. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And I apologize in advance for my kind of croaky voice. I was sick with bronchitis for about 2.5 months. The coughing was so bad. I hope this is not permanent. My voice has changed. And I don't think it is. I think it was just that I have not shut up the whole time because I continued to try to work. So it is what it is, and we will get into it. I think I know what we're going to use, but for some reason they're not having me pull them out right now. They did have me pull out these to start with. If you know me, then you know that I love books and I love my little card collection. For people that don't know me, you're going to notice that after a while, if you stick with me, I tend to collect decks. I don't collect a lot of things, but I do collect my decks. I love the new decks. And I just got these Grace cards, so I have no idea what they're going to say. So I probably will be reading out of some of these books because I'm going to go ahead and pull them. I won't open them, I'll be good, but I'm going to pull out what they've shown me so far. This is another new one I got. So these two I will be reading from the book if necessary. We'll just see how that goes. This one, although I got it yesterday, this is a replacement for an old beloved deck I had, and so I won't need the book for this. But having said that, let's get started. I'm sorry, I don't know that you would call that bragging, but I was so excited to have these. It's just making my night. I'm getting to play and hopefully getting to bless somebody out there. I'm guessing someone was praying for something since this was definitely not within my plan. Okay, so they are beautiful cards. I'm going to show these off in case anyone comes across these. These are much prettier than I anticipated. The Grace cards, it's a 50 card deck by Cheryl Richardson. But these are just incredible. Like, I don't know. I know that ring light reflects everything, kind of wrecks it. But they're just glossy, and there's no book for these apparently. So there's just a message on one side and something else on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm not even sure what the question is for tonight. Oh. I'm getting kind of the equivalent of tapped on the shoulder. Yes, I do. Sort of. Been seeing a lot of the number 444 lately. 22 came up once today. It was actually 2202. But 444 has been coming up a whole lot. And 1111, of course. I shouldn't say of course, but for me, it's a lot. And if you're on the twin flame journey, you've probably seen that number come up a few times. But there was something. I know my angels were talking to me today a lot about, and I did cleanse the energy, because these were used, I cleansed the energy already from them the other day when I got them. But what was it? We were discussing my twin flame. We were discussing how lucky I was. And I do consider myself extremely lucky. Although when I watch other people's readings, I can definitely say, oh yeah, that's my energy. Yep, I see that. But for me, I don't want to give too much away, but like some of the readers will be really harsh and they're like, oh, well, he's doing this and he's doing this and he's doing this. And I'm like, well, yeah, sort of, but my twin flame still talks to me. And so I know that the reason he's doing that is because he's going through X, Y, and Z, and he's super stressed, and he just told me all about it. So I am very, very blessed in that way, to have understanding. Not to say that my twin flame has not hurt me. I mean, of course, if you're on this twin flame journey, and that was part of the message. If you're on this twin flame journey, people keep talking about, like there's all kinds of readers that say different things. And the thing is I don't want to bash any of the readers. I would like to say to anyone that's watching my channel, though, that's kind of what I would say. Don't bash any of the readers. Even the ones that are going down the really dark, negative stuff. Just keep in mind that it's a general energy, and that negative thread can have different degrees. So that reader might be picking up on one instance that's really, really bad, where someone needs a warning, right? For the rest of us, it's like, oh, okay, it's not that big a deal. It's actually, yes, they're having to learn lessons about telling a lie. Or maybe they lied to me, but maybe the lie to me that they told was that the dress looked good on me when it really doesn't. And it caused an issue because I wore the dress I shouldn't have. That didn't actually happen to me. Mine's too honest for that. But I'm just saying, that's kind of the sort of thing I'm talking about. Like, it's a general energy. Like, if you've watched any of my readings, like why do I want to say there's an Aquarius reading out there? Like, they're saying Aquarius. I guess there's an Aquarius reading out there that's a good example of this. But a lot of my astrological readings, I'll talk about the energy that people are in. It's not that it's never going to play out the same for any of us, because we're all a little bit different. But the theme for us might be similar. So maybe the theme is about learning to stand our ground. So that means that we'll all be given an opportunity to do that. Depending on where we are in our lessons in our life, that's the degree to which, and I sometimes, some people use the word tested, and I think I've used that word too. And I do actually kind of like to think of it as a test, but that's because I test myself. I like to push myself. I'm a little competitive. I think of it like a game sometimes. Sometimes I really don't like it. But when I'm remembering that we made these choices, that we're here, and that this is what we wanted to learn, I try to think of it that way. And I heard somebody say earlier, was today or yesterday, that it's not really a test. It was actually something that was written, now I remember. I cannot pronounce her name, but it's the woman who puts the books on YouTube, the audiobooks, is Neville, I think. Um, but she was talking. It's actually one of the precursors for Think and Grow Rich, and for some of these other much more well-known names. I think her stuff came first. But anyway, she was talking about how we're not tested. It's not a test. It's the laws of the universe at work. And I do agree with that statement, but I do like to kind of think of it as a test in that I do believe that before we come back to this 3D in between lifetimes, we kind of choose what we want to learn. And so any class you go to is going to have kind of a test. If you don't take a test, how do you know how far you've come? So the test isn't like you're ever going to fail. Oh, you failed and you're done. That's it. Life's over. No, it's just that, okay, you didn't pass that part. Or maybe you got a B instead of an A. And you just keep going. Anyway, the point is that when you think of it, these readings, when you think of mine or anybody else's, like that it's a general energy that we're picking up on. It's different if you're going for a personal reading. They should be picking up on you specifically and your twin flame or higher soulmate, or I get readings for help with family issues, children, mothers, daughters, also all sorts of things. But they should be picking up on specifics if it's a personal reading. But with a reading like this, it's all very general. And I know I'm kind of going on right now, but this was actually part of the message that they wanted me to give. And I'm not sure exactly why. I know part of my feeling like this is my own filter. It's still not quite feeling, not to say good enough. I've had it drummed into my head enough times that, but I would say that for all my experience, and I have been listening to angels since I was little, like my first memory is 5 years old, I think, 4 or 5, and I've been doing cards since I was 16, so I'm going to say a couple of years. I should be proud of my age. So it's over 20 years experience. Well over 20 years of experience. And but the thing is that no matter how much experience I have, all of these other readers, they have their own filters. And the ones I've been listening to, I wouldn't be listening to them if I didn't find them very accurate and amazing in their own rights. So that's why I want to be really careful how I say what I say and what I'm saying. However, having said that, my angels are admonishing me to really emphasize that although these other readers, and there are a couple of them they kind of present themselves as being better than the rest of the readers out there. And they are good. But while they're presenting it, and I can think of 2 in particular, both of whom I like, one especially, but they both kind of tend to frown upon watching tarot readings and watching other readers. And my angels had a very clear message about that for me today, because and even I have been advised to back off of tarot readings from time to time, to stop watching them from time to time. But it's kind of like anything, everything in moderation. If you're they're not coming up with a filter that I like, that's really hitting home for me here with they're talking about food. By they, I mean my angels are trying to come up with the right filter for this. So I'm trying to help them here. Okay, potatoes. I know somebody who loved potatoes. And potatoes are good for you. They're a good starch. However, If all you do is eat potatoes, you are not going to be a healthy person. And that is the same with meat. That is the same with any food that you choose. And chocolate can be a wonderful sweet. It's a great mood lifter for us women. But if you eat nothing but chocolate, you're going to be a very unhealthy woman. And that was kind of their thing with the tarot, is I was finding value in watching other people's, and clearly I do this. Clearly I've been doing this, like, for the people that know me, I've been doing this since I was 16. I've talked to angels since I was little. So I don't need to watch someone else to hear. But, and if you're a reader or you're a psychic of any kind or intuitive, you'll understand what I'm saying. I can, and this is for those of you that aren't, because those of you that are, you already know what I'm getting at here, hopefully. But if you are in tune in that way, where either, depending on what your gift is, whether it's vision or hearing, however you're picking up your messages, it's you can get the message, and you can get it, and you can get it, and you can get it. But if you're really close to the situation, it's like a doctor trying to work on themselves. Like, there's only so much you can do and be sure of it. Right? Well, a doctor working on themselves is a bit extreme, because there's more reasons that a doctor couldn't do it. But it's it's just that if you want something badly enough, then even if you're getting a positive message, you doubt yourself, because you're constantly in your head saying, okay, is this something I just wanted? Is it really me, or is it really the angels? Is it like, and you start doubting. So then I would find a lot of value in watching the other readers, because when they were saying the same things that my angels had been saying, and the energy was the same, I was like, okay, I've got the message. It's not just me. Especially when like in a row within an hour of each other. So it's not like they could copy each other. Within an hour, 5 readers on YouTube are picking up the same thing. Boom, 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 boom. Some of the titles were even so similar, and they were like released within 15 minutes of each other. I was just blown away. I was like, that's okay. That is the message that is being given. I give up. I concede. So there's value in it, especially in confirmation if you're already getting the messages. But they wanted me to emphasize that you still need to use protection, because you're still bringing in other energy, and you're still allowing your energy to go out. But most especially, and that was the minor part of the message, okay, is not to scare anybody, but there is a little bit of that in there, to make sure that you're protecting yourself. But there's also, and I apologize for all the ums and uhs, yes, if you know anything about psychology, it means the person's nervous. But there was, I'm trying to remember exactly how they were putting it. We were talking about it in the car as I was driving, and they were, talking about how, even though the readings can be very beneficial in too much of a dose, like if you're getting obsessed with it, which I would for like a week or two, and then they would, get on my case, and then I would stop, and I would go do the things I needed to do, but then something would come up, and I would be like, okay, is my instinct on? Like, I don't see, like, what's going on? And so their biggest message wasn't necessarily about whether or not you're watching the readings right now. It was about, as a community, as a tarot community, as a healing community, how we're approaching each other, how we're approaching other readers, whether we're watching or whether we're reading. and understanding that we're all on different wavelengths. So you might be drawn to me one day, and then you might have a growth spurt or a setback that makes you drawn to another reader at a different time. Or maybe I'll be the one to have a growth spurt or a setback that makes me not vibe with, with some of my people anymore. And then maybe a week later, you'll vibe with me again. And it can work that way with readers, because we're constantly learning and growing. If you were watching the same reader over and over for a year, and you were still vibing with that same reader for that whole year, either you guys are growing in lockstep, in which case they may very well be some kind of soul connection to you, or neither of you is growing, which would still be growing in lockstep. So we need to lighten up on the readers. We need to lighten up, and I'm not, this is not an admonishment. If somebody comes across this and they're like total Bible thumping, you're the Antichrist, you're not with God. This is a huge part of my life, by the way. This is on my desk. So my point is if you're coming at me with that's a whole different argument. I'm not even talking to those people right now. I've only had that happen once. They didn't like the result. The result was, I can quote from the Bible too. And God wins. But this is, I'm talking about for the people that are in the tarot community. They're watching other tarot readers and making comments. We're being watched, so be careful, please. Because when you do that, and I got caught in that too, and I'm getting, this is part of why I'm doing this. That was part of the conversation, is I was getting in trouble. Because as I'm watching these other two tarot readers that are sitting there admonishing people watching tarot, I'm sitting there doubting whether or not I should do this. Because am I contributing to the obsession that they're talking about? Am I contributing to the bad vibes? Am I contributing to all this horrible stuff? And my admonishment from the angels was, no, I need to do this because there are people that are going to be on the wavelength that I'm on. Or even if they're on a different wavelength, if my angels set me to task, they'll knock me into the wavelength I need to be in to get a message to who I need to get it to. But I'll have the filter that they'll need. So if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do because I'm doubting myself because some other tarot readers are saying negative stuff about tarot readers, then I'm in trouble. Not just the other tarot reader. I'm in trouble because I'm not living up to what I'm supposed to do. And because I'm defying God by not doing what I'm supposed to do when I'm asked to do it. And if you watch my other readings, you'll see that there is one where I put out an apology and a thank you for some other tarot reader must have had to step up to the plate because they asked me to do a reading. And that night I was just too exhausted. I couldn't do it. And, angels are understanding. God's understanding. We're not all perfect. But if I'm sitting there watching TV because I'm too scared to do a reading, then I'm failing. And we can put it in any word we want, but I'm failing myself. And I'm failing you guys as a community. Anyway, the point is just like I as a reader should not. And this was the message. Oh my goodness, hold on, there might be more to this. Give me 1 second. I need to get a drink. Okay, sorry. I did not want that to time out, so you're going to watch me with my weakness here. If anyone has asthma, you probably know what this does. Long story, the cola for this was a medicine long before it was a soda. Or at least roughly around the same time. You can still buy it, from what I understand, at least you could 15 years ago, as just a syrup. If you're asthmatic, it helps. old nurses still know about this. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so I almost feel funny saying some of this because I'm sure I'm getting like the sense of deja vu, like I've given this message in some way or another before, but it just feels like someone really needed to hear either this again, or this is going to be the first time they've come across this. I get the feeling, like I really feel like I'm tapping into energy of someone who's about in their early 20s, female. I'm getting chills up my back. Someone who is a future healer of some kind. I don't know how else to put it except that part's like veiled. Goosebumps though, strong energy, but very much doubting herself at this young stage. But tarot for her is going to be part of her tools for learning herself. I don't know that she's going to be doing this on YouTube. I really don't. But I just see her sitting I see a couple instances, her sitting by herself and using the tarot to learn. Might be oracles. The deck's a little bigger than tarot and I can't see the pictures. And then with like a friend. But it's part of her exploratory thing. And so this message is for someone. And if you find value out of it, then I'm very grateful. But there is definitely a message for this particular message is for a very specific person. If you're checking out other tarot readers, start with the ones that use protection until you're absolutely sure of your own protection. Learn to shield. I could do a video on that, but there's some really great books. You don't have to wait for me to do a video on that. Imagine a white light surrounding you is the basic beginning of it. There are more complicated shields, more powerful ways of imagining shields, and that's a whole nother thing. But imagine a white light around you. Pray for protection. I get the impression she's not 100% sure of her, I want to say, spirituality yet. Like, I get the feeling of torn between sensing the value for herself in learning tarot or the oracle cards, whatever she's playing with, exploring herself through that, and also some kind of questioning it because of her religious thoughts. I don't get a very strong religious background. There's numerous ways to protect yourself. The prayer I said at the beginning of this video, again, I will say it is Christian, and I don't hold one religion above the other. God is not religious, but it is, in terms of prayer, it's one of the most powerful in my opinion. At least has been for me. So you're welcome to copy that. It's not mine, it's God's. Technically Jesus on the mount, I forget what the name of the mountain was off the top of my head. It's Anyway, we have to be gentle with each other and understand that these readers who are admonishing other readers, they are picking up on a problem, because people are latching onto that energy, and energy is really, really, it's a powerful thing. So if you claim the reading, like you'll even hear some readers, well, if you want to, hit like, if you want to claim the reading for your own, you don't have to hit like to claim the reading. I would love if you would hit like. Please, it does help the algorithm, which means that helps the video get out to more people, so that maybe, for instance, maybe this young lady won't see it the first week, but the more it gets out there, the higher the chances that she might get the message that she needs. So you're hitting like, you may not be doing a reading, but your hitting like actually helps the community, because it allows the video to get out there so other people, whoever might resonate with it, actually sees it. But you don't have to hit like to claim it. The minute you think, oh yeah, that sounds like me, you just claimed it. And that is the danger that these other readers are talking about. But that is also part of our path and our lesson. That is the danger that we are experiencing. It may be us doing that to ourselves in this twin flame journey. That's also part of our lesson. That's part of our experience. I've done it. It's to be reminded how powerful we as creators are. Yes, they're picking up on a potential, a very strong potential, something that might either be happening, already happened, or is really close to happening for one part of the collective. It's also, if we're drawn to it, a message for the rest of the collective that this is kind of where things are going. Depending on what they're picking up on. Are they picking up on something that already happened? Okay, then this is a heads up, and breathe, and we'll get through this. If it's something that could happen, and especially if it includes a little tidbit about what the Divine Feminine is doing that causes it, okay, breathe, and let's not claim that, and let's take a different turn real quick. What I'm saying is there's value in them if you know how to watch them. If you know how to claim what you want to claim, and look at what you don't want to claim and say, okay, so how do we avoid this? And I try to do that, especially in a personal reading. I always ask that. If there's something bad, it's always, okay, well, how do they avoid that? What do we do different? I don't like having a problem on the table without having the solution. In a general reading, it's harder to do because the solution is going to be different, because it's going to be varying degrees. So you're going to get the energy, but not necessarily the specifics. But the minute you claim it, you pull that energy to you. And that is why these readers are, and like I said, I like both of these readers who do it. But that's what they're picking up on. They're picking up on this problem. But they do sometimes blanket the whole, like, well, if you're watching a lot of tarot, you shouldn't be watching a lot of tarot. Come only watch me. Well, again, if you're only watching me, it means that you and I are either growing in lockstep completely. Not to say I don't want you to subscribe. Please do, because as I said too, you may come in and out of alignment with me. If we're growing together, if we're on that same wave or same vibration, you may go 2-3 months watching me and everything like bam, right there, and solution, bam. And then all of a sudden, don't ask me why I couldn't snap right then. But then all of a sudden, 1 week, we won't line up at all, and you'll line up with somebody else. And then maybe the following week it'll be right there. It could be because I'm sick. It could be because I have an off week. The same could be it could be you have an off week. And it could be that one of us just jumped before the other into this other alignment. So again, they're reiterating the same, young woman. So if this does resonate with you, if you're a young woman in your early 20s, I I see like shorter hair, blonde. And you're kind of struggling with this, blonde-ish. And you're struggling with this and you're trying to figure out whether or not these are okay cards, whether or not you're on the right path. They want to give you a message, and the message is that yes, you are. Do use protection. Do learn to use protection. You should always build your foundation. Protection, in my opinion, is the greatest foundation. Doing tarot without protection is like building your house on quicksand. It's not a good idea. Something's going to get in. But when you build a strong foundation and you're well protected, it won't matter how much the wind blows. God's always going to be stronger, and it's whatever attack comes your way is always going to get knocked back. So have a little more faith in yourself. Don't feel bad about watching the other readers. Don't let yourself get confused by the ones that are naysayers, or that they're pulling the information in the way that they're pulling it in. The ones that request you to hit the like button, maybe they're not sure of themselves enough yet to understand that that's not necessary, or they wouldn't be pulling that information. Maybe they just really feels like it's a thing that they want to do to help. And the truth is maybe a better way to put that for the readers that do that is hit the like button to claim the energy in a stronger way. It will strengthen it. Because if they make a suggestion that you hit the like button in order to claim it, and then you hit the like button to claim it, it's going to reinforce your thought, which will then make the energy stronger, and it will help it come in more. But don't be fooled. You don't have to hit the like button to claim an energy. The minute you think, oh yeah, that's me, you're going to start seeing the results of that. So you have to be careful. I mean, in some things you can't help. There were times where I had dreams about things that my twin flame did or was going to say, and I was like, no, I don't believe that. And I would see 3 or 4 readers, and they would say that energy would be the same. And I'd be like, oh, no, that's not. And then it would happen. Some things on this path, I don't know for sure whether it was because I was watching things, but I don't think so, since I had the dreams first. Some things I think we get because it's a heads up. It's what's already happening. There is free will. We can't control our divine masculines. And so the ones that are on a certain wavelength, and sometimes as feminines, may not resonate with the reader. I've had this happen too, because I'm not on the same wavelength as she is, but she's on the same wavelength as my divine masculine, so she's picking up bits of truth from him. And I was just floored about how accurate she was. Even though I didn't vibe with her, she was hella accurate to my situation. And that's going to happen too. So you have to learn to use your own discernment. Trust yourself. Because in the end, your heart will guide you. And if you're trying to live this journey, this experience, if you're in the twin flame journey, and you're trying to live it to its fullest, then you want to be connecting with your higher self. Because that is the biggest goal, is to come closer to God, come closer to your higher self, which is the portion of God, him living out his experience through us. That's a whole other complicated thing. And we are him, he is us. We live in him, he lives in us. One consciousness created a spark. His thought of us brought us into existence. He likes that we're separate from him. hence our need for companionship as well. So he is the greater energy. We are the piece of the energy. His energy runs through us. He can exist without us. We cannot exist without him. But because it's his energy that runs through us, and we are a piece of him, we have the ability to create our own reality. Maybe not to the same degree that he has to create the reality of the whole multiverse. But we can set things in motion because there's certain laws of energy that are at play that we don't control. They just are. And there are too many great speakers out there that talk on this. Like I said, Neville Nation, that's what it is, Neville Nation. I think her name is, I think it's Lily. She just, I just love the way she reads the books. They're very smooth. I think the woman's name is Chevelle, that I'm listening to all of her books right now. The author, I mean. Think and Grow Rich, great, amazing book. He actually, the author of that, has several books that I like. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, some wonderful people to listen to, Abraham Hicks. And all of the people I'm saying, if you're not resonating with them, write their names down. You might later. In my experience, and again, I believe I am giving this message, I want to say it's almost personal message, but it feels very personal. Not to say it won't help other people or resonate with other people, but it does feel like I'm giving an almost very personal part of this right now. But my experience, as I was learning more about connecting to my higher self and more about this stuff, most of it started with the question of how can I do what I'm doing? How can I hear angels? How can I hear you, God? When, when I was little, I thought everybody could. It wasn't until I went to school that I realized, oh no, you're a freak. And I shouldn't put it that way, especially for someone, if you're sensitive to that. But if you are sensitive to that, I'm sure you know what I mean. Because I found it was a shock to me that not everybody heard God, not everybody heard angels, and or saw things. And so I just it's been a very long process. So many years ago, I finally asked why is it that that's the way it is? And the first time I asked that, I got a very simple answer, which was very sweet and biblical in nature. But it didn't answer the scientific part of it, and I wanted to know the science behind it. So then they had me study quantum physics and a whole bunch of other stuff. And the whole point of this is that if you hear people mention different books or different things, my advice would be to write them down. Even if they don't resonate with you at the time, you might find they do later. My angels used to have me get books, still do. But there were two books that really hit home with me. And actually, I'm getting reminded, you're also reminding me 3. I got in trouble for the other one. But when I first read them, I was like, oh, these people are, I didn't believe in fairies at the time. These people are crazy. And Uriel made his first appearance and said, like, appearance to me, and said, really, you talk to angels, what do you think people think about you? And I was like, oh, touche, okay, so you're saying that I should not judge, and what do you want me to do? And I was advised to do some of the I'll call them experiments in the book. They were exercises, if you will. They were called exercises in the book. But like anything, you have to prove it to me. I've got to see it for myself. And so, be careful what you wish for. So, you know, it took me, from the time they had me buy that book until I read it, I wasn't even like, I didn't even feel like I vibed enough with it to pick it up and read it for probably like 2 years. And then after that, I hit a place where, because I would pick it up from time to time and I would look at it and be like, yeah. After about 2 years, I think I picked it up and read it, like all the way through. And then I was still skeptical. And it was only after I got in trouble and they had me do some of the practices that I came to believe some of that, to believe everything in that book. And then one of the other books, it was about the same thing. It was a couple of years of picking it up, not using it, picking it up, not using it. And in that case, it had less to do with me not believing, because at this point I'd already been in trouble a couple of times. But it was more about, I didn't understand what they were talking about because I hadn't reached that vibrational level. I was like pieces behind. And then all of a sudden one day I picked it up and I started reading it and everything just clicked. I was like, oh, that's makes sense now. That's what this was, and that's what this was, and that's what this was. So my advice on this, to whomever this is for, is to go ahead and just write things down. If you and I will say that this, I think it does happen this way, because I've had this happen where someone will mention a book, but they won't really say much about it. For whatever reason, I just feel like something will click and I've got to write that down. And I'll write it down. Later I go and look for it and read it. And it'll be something that I really, like I said, either has to wait a couple years or something that I really like, but it usually is valuable at some point. So, for what it's worth, that might help you on your journey, is to, one, go back and revisit things that you might have kind of poo-pooed before or not understood before, and give yourself the credit that you'll learn, that you're growing, that your experience is going to be different next year than it is today, and that you're going to get where you're supposed to be. And that was for the 20-something blonde that I saw kind of hesitating about the tarot cards. And now we are already 47 minutes in, so I'm actually, I thought I was going to do this all in one video, but for some reason I am going to I'm going to close this off. I know that that's going to kind of leave this video for a very narrow group of people, but I'm actually going to do it for everyone else's benefit. So if you are watching this, if you got drawn into it and you thought I was going to do another reading, I'm going to pull one card here in a minute for this reading, but if you were drawn to this and you're watching it, there is something in it for you. It may very well be that you know the younger tarot reader. You might be very well set to be her guide, but or just having some doubt yourself and need a little bit of a pickup or a boost or advice, and that's okay for all of us. We can all use that from time to time. But I am going to do, apparently, I am going to do another video here in just a minute, for the general collective. And it's going to be like more normal, I guess. Whatever that means. So, alright, advice for all of us who just had to listen to that tirade, myself included. I hate when I make that face, but it's me. I don't know. You either like me or you don't. And apparently I just mixed all these cards up to heck. I must have been really, really nervous. I don't know if you can see me while I'm shuffling these. But here, I'll hold them up a little more. Some of them are face up and some of them are face down now. They were all in order. I mean, not in order, but they were not like this. I have to go back and watch this myself. Oh, that's another thing. If you do tarot readings, watch your own stuff. Seriously. I don't know about any other tarot readers, but I tend to forget what I say. It's almost like I don't deep channel, obviously. I don't know what the best word is. That, like, obviously I'm not asleep. But it is kind of light channeling. And sometimes, like, I'm always present. Oh, I shouldn't say always. They have had me stuck kind of to the back sometimes. Not for YouTube that I know of yet. But even this light of a channeling, sometimes it's going so fast and they're talking and I'm just repeating what's being said and I'm going with the flow of it. I don't always remember what I've said in the videos. Like, I've gotten to a point where I'm trying to write down the minute I'm done with it what it's about, because 5 minutes later, especially if I've done another video right in a row, I will not remember. I just won't, because I was in the flow. I was channeling. They were not my words. They were the angel's words versus me having, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm teaching my kids how to cook, those are my words, my thoughts. I've done it a million times. Sometimes I'm learning right along with you. And so I don't always remember. And so they want me to emphasize for all the tarot readers that might be watching this, both the future one I was talking to or future ones, because I don't think this is going to be just for one person. I think this will probably be of benefit to any new budding tarot readers. But watch your own stuff. They made me go back and watch 2 a couple of days ago that were they were ones I did, but they were from a while back and I was floored. I didn't remember saying some of the stuff I said. I was amazed at how accurate it turned out to be for me. Of course, that, again, claiming the energy, that kind of makes sense. I was the one that gave the reading, my energy. As I'm saying it, I'm also creating the potential stronger for it for myself. So there is some of that, but it's called self-fulfilling prophecy when you're a reader. You should learn about that. But I try to be very careful about that, so that that's a whole different thing. But it was so helpful. Like, I couldn't believe how the 2 that they had me pick, one I think I did like over a year ago, and it was so pertinent to right now. Like, when I did it, I wasn't picking up on energy of that time, but now it's relevant for myself. So their advice is, if you're a reader, go back. And I'm not saying, like, there's some of the readers I've watched for years, they must have hundreds of videos. I'm certainly not saying that the angels are telling you to go watch every single one of your videos, but maybe look through your playlist and see if anything pops out to you, just like we advise everybody else. If you're drawn to something, there's a reason. See if you're drawn to any of your old readings, and if you are, watch them. Like, it was incredibly, it was kind of life-changing. Though the one I had done over a year ago, I could not believe how accurate it was for right now for me. Okay, so, and that was not to brag on myself at all. Literally, that was a message. If you're a reader, especially on YouTube, so you have your whole collection available, go back and watch some of your old ones. And I haven't had the confidence to tell everybody, go watch my old ones yet. But, some of the readers I've seen, they do. And they're right. It's valuable to us too. If you see, look at some of the readers' playlists, you might find that maybe you're not in lockstep with them right now for their reading today, but maybe a reading they gave a year ago is extremely valuable. Well, the angels are just telling us as readers we should do that too for ourselves. They're saying a lot of us readers will watch other people sometimes for confirmation or for other things, but we forget to go back and watch our own from the viewpoint of one being the observer and not working, so that we can really hear all of the information, because we're not channeling it, we're not focused on what the angels are saying and how to say it properly and what the filter means, but just sitting from the observer viewpoint and watching, and how valuable it can be. So I can attest to it. They made me do it. It was really cool. Okay, it was beneficial and about cool. I felt funny watching myself, but it was beneficial. They were right. I can't say that they weren't right. They were right. I do not know why I wanted to do a card. I really did. Heavenly Father, creator of all things in all times and all places, I was going to say, may I have a card? It's actually the second one that, I got a whole pile, and I said one, but this is the one that screams at me. If you disagree, you can go backwards, and if this was the one on top, this is the one that's screaming at me. Oh, that's funny. If you disagree with me, they said, look at the card on top. So for those of you that think it absolutely insists that it has to be the first card that was on top, because someone will be that person. If you're sitting there criticizing and going, oh, it had to be the first one. It was supposed to be the first one. Okay. So the first one, growth. But what it says is, if it's an upright, it was in reverse, which means somebody wasn't doing it. Accept the lesson, were the first words that popped out in front of me. When things don't go our way, something more important to the growth of our soul is in the works. That is what it says on this top card. So, for any of you that were going, oh, it should have been the top card. She should have grabbed the top card if she was going to grab any of them. Apparently, what was the exact words? Something more important to the growth of our soul is in the works. So let's see what it is. Affection is the card. It's really pretty. Love yourself. You are the ultimate act of creation, fashioned by the hands of a divine artist. I think that's very fitting, given this whole message, which is about trusting our instincts and being kind to other readers, being kind to ourselves, watching our own readings. I like that, and I've got chills. So I'm going to leave it at that. May you show affection to other readers. May you show affection to yourself. And for the budding readers out there, it's a beautiful journey. Use protection, of course, build your foundation, but don't forget to have fun along the way. And for those of you who are not readers, we're all healers in our own way. That's why my channel is called Here with Angels. Angel means messenger. And so we're all messengers for someone. We're all each other's messenger. Every time we smile, every time we do a kindness, every time we do a loving act for somebody else, we serve everybody when we do that. You're all angels. So on that note, angels, I am going to close off this and do the other reading they want me to do. And then we'll see what happens.